I'm brand new to Old School RuneScape. I've avoided it all these years because I thought it looked old and outdated. I realized how unfair that is, and I've since learned that RuneScape is more than just its looks. I feel like I've been working hard on my character, and today is a big day. I'm going to complete Dragon Slayer 1, a quest that has been suggested by countless people. There's a bunch of requirements to do first though. I need quest points, a higher magic level, and a higher combat level. The dragon is going to be tough. One more thing. I want to implement a new tradition for the series going forward. Whatever the top comment was from the previous video, I have to do. Last episode, the top comment said that I can right-click to tan all cow hides at once, instead of doing each of them one by one. I went to test this, and yeah, it works. So leave a comment, and whichever has the most likes is going on my to-do list. It can be a tip, a goal, anything at all. Just don't make me do more thieving. Anyway, Dragon Slayer 1. It sounds daunting and feels far away, which I mentioned to one of my friends. He told me to check out the Members Melee Training Guide on the wiki. Waterfall quest is nearby and rewards a lot of experience in my combat skills, so I headed that way. To get there, I had to run through the Wolf Mountain again. On the Catherby side, I immediately grabbed a few things that would have helped me out before. There are giant bats for Rag and Bone Man and a patch of flax for making bowstrings. I threw both in the bank, so I'll have them for later. The activity advisor also says I can get easier access through the mountain if I do fishing contest, so I made a note to come back around for that one eventually. The waterfall in the quest wasn't hard to find at all, and the path at the top led me to Almira and Hudon. After I washed up on the shore, it seemed my best option was to head for Treenome Village to find Glariel's Pebble. The maze around the village wasn't too bad, though I did run into some giants. It reminded me of the Odyssey. I underestimated how much food I was going to need inside the dungeon. The enemies are high level and I can't take many hits. I had to run back outside to let my health regenerate, then farm some goblins for small drops of coins to buy cooked meat at the village for tiny amounts of recovery. It was very slow going, but I at least learned from it. I need higher value food to stay healthy in this game, whether that's food that gives back more hit points on its own or just a bigger stockpile. At this point, I felt like I really hadn't been able to get anywhere, so I got brave and just rushed into the room on the other side of the dungeon. I started searching the boxes and found the door key, then got the pebble from Golry. I brought it to the tomb and figured out that I needed to place the pebble on it, but got stuck for a while when it didn't have any effect. The inscription says you have to have peaceful intent to enter. So after thinking for a minute, I took off my weapons and tried again, but still couldn't get inside. Nothing else made sense, so I messed around cooking ingredients for a few minutes while I tried to think of another solution. I decided to try again after throwing everything in my inventory into the bank, and apparently that was peaceful enough. After my practice running past enemies in the last dungeon, I was less afraid and looted 2 new quest items and then returned to the surface. And then got stuck again. I know the door I need is partway down, but I can't get to the rock island at the edge. There's some rope thing on the ground where the raft crashed, but I can't do anything with it if I try to interact or right-click. I washed up on the shore a few more times trying to figure it out before I went to get rope of my own. By using it, I was able to lasso myself to the rock, and the same trick got me down and inside of the waterfall. In a repeat of before, I have to run past enemies and search for a door key. The pillars inside the room have rune-shaped dents. The historian's book told me that Baxtorian mastered control of water, earth, and air, so I guessed those are the runes that I need. Except there are 6 pillars, not 3. I went back to the bank and grabbed every rune I had and hoped I'd find the answer. Adding air runes didn't do much besides make a puff of smoke, but when I tried using them again, I got a warning. You've already put that type of rune on this pillar. So I tried adding the other 2 to each pillar, and when I was done, nothing happened. I tried examining parts of the room and using the amulet and the urn, and nothing changed. It's so easy to feel completely stuck and run out of ideas in RuneScape, and I ran into that problem again here. When I gave up looking around for a clue, I checked the wiki to see what I missed. I was right about using the amulet, but I must have misclicked or something. The floor rose up to the chalice, and I used the urn on it to get the treasure and complete the quest. I also noticed I got lucky with the rune order, and if I had placed them wrong, I'd have been washed away or taken a huge hit of damage. I lined them up in my inventory by quantity, which happened to be the correct sequence. Sometimes it's good to be organized. Or lucky. I still need 10 more quest points, 8 combat levels, and 12 magic levels. Before going further in melee training, I went to meet the quest giver for fishing contest so I can get to this side of the map easier in the future. This quest was much simpler and smaller in scope. After I lost to Big Dave a couple times, I go see the old guy who used to win a lot, and he told me that I need the spot that the vampire is using. I broke into the property with the red vines to get worms, and didn't know until I got there that I would need a spade. This is an issue I've had repeatedly with RuneScape. Not bringing what I need to do something the first time and having to go back and get it or find it. But I do think I've gotten better about this over time, and it's part of the price I've paid for not running Quest Helper and trying to do things myself first. After I brought back some garlic and scared off the stranger, I won the contest and brought the trophy back for my dwarf friend, and opened the passageway beneath the mountain. The little pub under the mountain is cool, and I'm hoping I need to come back here for something later. Dwarves are awesome. A friend also told me to check out Romeo and Juliet for quest points. I hadn't noticed that quests have varying amounts of points as rewards, and this one gives 5 of them. I went to see if the wiki would show me this, and I can sort the list of quests that way. Goblin Diplomacy and Ernest the Chicken, which I did in previous episodes, were worth a combined 9 points. There are 2 more high-value quests near me and Varrock, so I decided to do those next. Romeo and Juliet was also a pretty simple quest. It took me a few minutes to find Juliet, but after running back and forth to some of the other NPCs in the quest and making the potion, I was a little surprised by the ending when Romeo decided to run off with the cousin. Demon Slayer could not have been closer, so that was the next thing to get done. I needed to collect some keys to get the weapon to kill Delrith, which required some running around the map. At the Wizard's Tower, I had to farm goblins again to get a big stack of bones for Treyborn. It's kind of cool to be slapping goblins around again, like I did for half of episode 1, but now I'm hitting them much harder, sometimes even killing them in a single hit. I might not look much stronger, but I'm definitely tougher than the goblins now. I got a little stuck on the key lost in the sink drain. I tried a few times to pour water into the sink in the palace kitchen, which didn't work, so I went down to the sewer to see if I could find it there. Oh, there's a bank vault. This has got to be a thieving thing, right? Like in the future, I must have to break into this. There were no keys that I could see, and I climbed up a ladder into the grizzly bear's pen, which put me exactly in the right spot to notice... Oh, the drain's outside. Come on. I had the right idea with the water before, I was just in the wrong spot. So after trying the water again, the key fell into the sewer and I was able to go back down and collect it. Today, I fulfilled a promise I made in episode 2. I fought and killed a dark wizard, and then ruined their whole gig by banishing Delrith back to wherever he was summoned from. After finishing Demon Slayer, I'm just 1 quest point short of opening Dragon Slayer. To take a break from questing, I started thinking about my magic level. To gain levels, I'm going to need some different types of runes, I think. I'm going to go check out the Grand Exchange and see what it would cost me to start getting some of the ones I may need. I've seen a lot about the Grand Exchange in the comments, so I'm interested to see what it's all about. Oh, this is where all the old school RuneScape players hang out. It looks like I'm limited to 8 things at a time, but I was confused about how this system works. I can't browse listings for the item that I want to see prices, and each little window is for exactly 1 item, either for purchase or for sale. I can type in what I'm looking for, but I'm not sure if the GE price that comes up with the examine action is accurate or not. After a few minutes of poking around, I think I've got it figured out. Grand Exchange is the perfect name for this. I was expecting something more like a market board or an auction house, but this is more like a trading space. Each slot is for an order. Either I list something to sell or request to buy something at a specific price. I like the way this is set up so far. There's no need to try and game the system or hover around looking for a deal. It's a little lame that the transaction slots are limited though. While I was here, surrounded by other players, I thought it was a good opportunity to try and really become part of the RuneScape MMO experience. I'm officially welcome to a clan, and the first thing I noticed was how common it is to see people saying this game's version of congrats when players hit milestones, complete things, or get noteworthy drops. Something else that I saw is that my bank tabs have a number on them. One of them has just my gold in it, and those numbers are exactly the same. I'm guessing that this represents the total grand exchange value of the items stored there, which is a really cool piece of information to be given to players. If that's true, right now I'm sitting on about 268,000 gold worth of items if I liquidated everything. I don't think I need to convert everything I've collected at this point, but at least I have an idea of what my stock is worth. Since I'm still one quest point short, I looked nearby for something to do and spotted Gertrude's cat. It's good that I just learned about the Grand Exchange, since her toddlers are extorting me for cash. I had some trouble with the cat in the lumber mill. I tried giving it all sorts of food and it didn't like anything. I ran out of ideas, and instead of trying to fish up or find all of the different kinds of available fish, especially since this is supposed to be a beginner's quest, I looked in the wiki to see what I needed. I had to season raw sardine with Dougal leaves. In hindsight, I can understand what they were going for with this. There's a huge pile of those things in Gertrude's backyard, so you're giving the cat something familiar. Once I took care of that and found the kitten, I finished the quest, and got the first grats of my own in clan chat. I got to return the favor a few minutes later when someone hit a woodcutting milestone. There's that MMO feeling. The good news is that I made it to the required number of quest points, but I'm still way behind on combat and magic levels. I went back to the melee training guide to see where I could go for combat level experience. My next stop is Witch's House in Taverley, but I also saw that some enemies can be safe spotted with magic. I'm not sure how to do it, but I think I know what it means. Also, I'm hoping to pick up general game knowledge by having clan chat open while I play. There's a lot of references and stuff I just don't know, but over time, I'm expecting that I'll learn. I thought this quest was another example of one with instructions or clues that are too vague to figure out in a reasonable amount of time. I did fine getting into the house by finding the key outside and then using cheese, from Aggie, again, I'm so sorry, to lure out the mouse. But the magic curved piece of metal from the diary didn't tell me much. There are so many different possibilities for the solution to this. I looked through the crafting recipes at rings and necklaces and thought I might need to enchant one to do this, and I don't have the supplies for it like the ring mold. I didn't need to do any of that. I had to use leather gloves on the electrified gate in the basement to get into the cupboard, which had a magnet in it. At least it's funny, even if it was a little frustrating. I wonder if the old quests from like 2001, 2002 are more obtuse than the ones that released later. Anyway, I get through the last door and run for the shed out back to get the boys' ball, and when I got back inside and reached the shed, picking up the ball triggered an attack. But I think I figured out safe spotting. I sort of clipped myself behind the box and the enemies couldn't hit me, but I was able to chain wind strikes on them. I can absolutely see how this will be helpful dealing with guys that are a lot stronger than me. The end of this quest got my combat level up to 39. I guess I didn't need to do Gertrude's cat, but I've been taking care of the kitten following me around, so it was worth it. I went to the next quest that gives combat experience, Death Plateau. I didn't believe the sign that said it was dangerous to run up the hill, and I tried it. Ouch, ouch, ouch. This quest was fine until I met Harold. I could not get this dude drunk enough to give up the armory combination. I tried giving him a ton of his favorite beer and tried giving him the more potent sounding stuff that the barkeeper had. Nothing worked. I had to go back and talk to the prince after Harold said he didn't want to talk about what happened before I could ply him with drinks. I thought this was totally nonsensical because I did need to give him booze for this step. He was definitely cheating, by the way. I lost a ton of dice rolls for 100 gold and went for a classic gambler's fallacy. I was due for a win and made larger bets to recoup my losses. It actually worked after a few tries, and eventually Harold ran out of money and gave me an IOU, which had what I needed written on the back. I headed back to Tree Gnome Village for the next couple steps. I wandered around for a bit trying to figure out how to get the armor the guards are wearing during Fight Arena. I checked the general store nearby to see if I could buy some and came across Jittery Jim. I found out he can be recruited for a sailing crew later on when my level is higher. And I like this a lot. I won't just hire random people at ports, but actually go out to find crew members around the world. It wasn't very involved to get into the arena once I found the armor in the barracks. I got more practice with safe spotting while I fought the enemies inside, but I had some scary moments where I messed up and took some big smacks. I got a big drop of thieving experience for completing this, which is a nice touch. I stole the gear and pretended to be one of them to get inside, so I guess it fits. I can steal dairy cowbells? Why? What does that do? It felt like I was on a roll, so I went to see King Bolrin in the heart of the maze to start Tree Gnome Village. This quest and Death Plateau could be little side missions from Lord of the Rings. I met the commander, found tracker gnomes, and then found the orb at the top of the tower. When I got back to the village, they had been ambushed and lost the other protection orbs. It took me a minute to hunt down the warlord and another minute to safe spot him. I'll need more practice to be better at that. Oh my god, the tree teleports! The tree teleports! I'm so excited about this. Finally, a way to travel relatively quickly. The options are limited for now, but this is awesome. I'm just under combat level 42, so I'm closing in on Dragon Slayer. At first, I tried to fight the wizards south of Falador for magic experience. They hit pretty hard, and I burned through a good amount of food to keep up, and decided it wasn't really worth it. I wanted a break from questing since I'd just gotten through so many. It seems like the best way forward, though. There are some quests that reward magic skill experience in the skill window, so I went back to the wizard's tower to start Imp Catcher. I wasted a little time trying to get bead drops from the singular imp in Alkari Desert before looking them up to see if there's anywhere a little better for it, and it turns out there is, right outside of Falador. I collected all of the beads and a mind talisman before moving on to do Witch's Potion. It was a very short quest and only required collecting a few things nearby. With both of these done, I figured it was time to make myself some runes to keep going. I tried to sell a few things from my bank, including Goblin Mail. I'm healing from my experience in episode 1, but I fully expect to need another one now that I was finally brave enough to get rid of the ones that I was holding on to. I went back to Varrock to do the rune essence collecting I did before with Aubrey and the bank. I was nearing a stack of 1,000 when I remembered that I can just buy runes from him. It's been so long since I did that the first time that I had completely forgotten, even though I had to see his dialogue options every time I went back to the essence mine. I really do need a break from questing. I've done a lot of it to this point, and the goal is another quest as it is. I bought a big stack of the runes and decided I'd make a trip back to Lumbridge for the first time in a while. Brutus is there, and I'll be able to keep casting spells at him, which is better than waiting for respawns. I think it actually went pretty well, and I was confident since I had fought him a second time after finishing Ides of Milk. With Mystic Will active, my experience gains were better. Actually, this is where I confirmed a belief I had before, but hadn't verified yet. I'm getting more experience based on damage done, not the actual magic spell being used. I assume that higher level spells have a higher baseline, but anytime I hit a critical, I was getting a lot more benefit. During all of this, I picked up some cool items from Brutus. He dropped Muleta, cow slippers, and a bottomless milk bucket, and I think I might be in some trouble. There's a sweet little jingle that plays when you get something new for the collection log. If you remember, one of the reasons my friends told me to play this game is that I like collecting things. This little reward system absolutely hits for me. For the last few kills, after I got to 32 magic, I changed back to melee to pick up the final combat levels. One of the things that unlocked at strength 35 is the ability to catch tuna barehanded, which is a funny combination of skills. My attack, defense, and hit points all went up a level at the exact same time, and it put my combat to 45. The requirements and recommendations were fulfilled. It's time to start Dragon Slayer. For some reason, I thought the beginning of a quest like this would require me to travel far away to begin the adventure, but I only needed to be just south of Varrock. The Master of the Champions Guild sent me to see Oziak, who sounded tired of adventurers, and told me I could wear rune plate mail if I killed the dragon of Crandor. He seemed a little sarcastic. There are a lot of steps to get through here, but that seems fitting for something that sounds more grand in scale. I'm not just returning a lost cat this time. There's a map to the island that's currently split into 3 parts. I need a shield to protect me from dragonfire, a ship to get me there, and a captain to sail it. When I visited the Duke in Lumbridge, he just handed over the shield without any fuss, so that part was easy. I went looking for the pieces of the map next, and found myself in a sort of haunted house maze. Everything was locked, but one of the rats dropped a key colored to match the doors. It disintegrated on use, so if I guess wrong, I need to get a new one. After wandering around, going through the wrong doors, and steadily losing hit points against the ghosts on the second floor, I left to regroup. There's a big demon in the basement that I assume I'll need to deal with, so I need some health regeneration to keep going. On the way to the Grand Exchange, I knocked out an imp that dropped another one of the beads. I'm going to hit these guys every time I see them now. If one of the beads drops, it's worth a hefty stack of gold. I picked up a stock of apple pies to help me heal and went back to the maze. It took more trial and error, but eventually I worked my way back down into the basement and fought Melzar. He wasn't much of an issue, but the demon was more trouble. I had to chow down on the pies that I brought, but eventually he also fell. The last key got me through the door to the chest and my first map fragment. The next place that I went was the Ice Mountain to find the Oracle. It was much easier to reach the top than I expected, and my reward was a riddle about what I needed to proceed. The mage drink I actually thought that I might have already. The drink I tried to give Harold during Death Plateau. The crustacean cage is almost certainly a lobster pot from fishing, and the sheet of worm string is probably a textile. I looked around to see if I could make anything worm adjacent in crafting, and I didn't see anything. I haven't seen it before in RuneScape, but I searched the GE for silk and found it. It is almost certainly the answer to that part. The bowl that hasn't seen heat, I was pretty confident in too. The only thing that made sense to me was pottery. I found some clay and added water to it, and then took it to the pottery wheel in Barbarian Village and made it into a bowl. I skipped firing it to turn it into a full-fledged piece of diningware, and brought everything back to the Oracle. The riddle didn't change, so I went looking for the door and was temporarily convinced it was the fancy one directly underneath. I couldn't get anywhere with it though, and checking around the rest of the mountain, I saw the dwarves have a ladder heading underground. Right-clicking the door down there gives me the hint that I needed. Use the items on the door, and I was right on all counts. It opened and I picked up the second fragment. The last piece wasn't that bad. The general of the goblins told me that Wormbrain stole it and he was locked up in Port Sarum. I went to see him and figure out what to do about the boat as well. I couldn't steal keys or anything from the guard to break him out and kill him, and he way overcharged me. 10,000 gold to get the last piece of the map. The 10,000 was rough for me because Clarence also wants 2,000 for the boat. I don't have another option, so I forked that over too and got a free cabin boy to go with it. I fixed up the boat, recruited Ned from Draenor, and started planning for the expedition. Dragons are probably the most famous fantasy creatures. Typically, they're very magical, and sometimes immune to magic themselves. With a new supply of pies, and the plan to use Mystic Will if I'm taking lots of magic damage, I set sail. No, not Jim, man. Not Jim. My guy Jim is dead. He seemed like a good dude, and that was a rough way to go. It took me some time to get up to the top of the mountain and recover some health so I didn't waste any of my food. And when I climbed down, I could see the dragon, but didn't realize I could climb over the spikes. So I ran down into the high-level guys and took some more unnecessary damage. I went back and noticed how to get in and started the fight. It took no time at all for me to realize I was in so much danger. I wasn't doing much damage at all, and getting absolutely blasted in return. As my food supply got lower, I realized I had nothing to turn the fight in my favor. At long last, and for the first time, I died in RuneScape. It was a great opportunity for me to learn about how death works. I hope not to spend a ton of time dealing with this. but the system does seem pretty fair. If I can get back to my body, I'll recover my things for a low cost. If I can't, death will return them for a steeper price. It's interesting that I can put my deaths on layaway too by depositing valuable items ahead of time to pay for future recovery fees. It's intuitive to return as well. I noticed the little portal spot in the Lumbridge graveyard. The worst part of my death is that I know for sure I stand no chance against Elvarg. Something has to change. I looked at all of the combat skills I leveled up over the course of preparing for this, and saw that I'm now capable of wearing adamant armor and wielding a rune sword. I headed for the Grand Exchange to see what it might cost me, and along the way I asked my clan if they had any tips for beating the dragon. Step 1. Don't die. It wasn't helpful, but I laughed. Step 2 was way more helpful. Use anti-fire potion. After buying the ship and getting robbed by an incarcerated goblin, I was pretty low on funds. I don't have many ideas about how to make money in RuneScape, but I do know that the imps by Falador were good to me with drops. I got to work farming them for valuables and was there for a long time. I even got my range skill to 30 while I was at it. After selling a big stack of the beads, some talismans, wizard's hats, and the imp soul head things, I managed a few upgrades. With a fresh stack of apple pie and a full anti-fire potion, I tried to fix my ship and go again, but I wasn't able to. You don't need to mess with broken ships now that you have found the secret passage from Karamja. I couldn't figure out what to do from here, so I tried to look up how to get back and ended up taking a boat to Brimhaven. I came across monkeys when I got there and snagged the last bone for Rag and Bone Man. The dungeon entrance nearby dropped me down into the volcano where I was looking for a way to get to Elvarg earlier. I forgot to recharge my prayer before I returned and hoped the changes that I made would be enough. It felt great to complete the goal of finishing Dragon Slayer, and it also felt like I really had to earn it after experiencing my first trip to Death's Domain. This wasn't just grabbing materials from the bank to get some quick level ups and crafting. I had to run through a big stack of quests, and even though I was getting tired of them in the end, it was worth it. Dragon Slayer truly felt like a legendary questline. I had to recruit allies, put together the map to find an infamous location, and figure out gear and supplies to get me through the battle. The singular complaint I have about the quest is that the recommended levels just don't seem to be valid. It's possible I missed something, like maybe Elvarg is weak to specific magic, or there's a clue that I needed extra support to win, but the social aspect of the game got me through. I'm not sure if it's a valid feeling, but completing Dragon Slayer made me feel like I'm closer to being a real player, and I had to learn, to grind, to participate in the MMO elements of the game to get here. It is nice to have some familiarity with the Grand Exchange and how it works, but I still want to try and solve things in RuneScape on my own. I'm not sure what the next goal will be, but it feels like the world of Gielinor is opening up for me, especially because of the spirit trees and my new capability to move around a little bit faster. If RuneScape continues to build on that feeling, where cresting the wave of one goal or achievement feels like the widening of possibility, then there really is something special here. I'll see you guys next time.